Have you ever felt invisible? Like no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, the people around you just don't see your worth? Maybe it's at work, where your ideas are ignored in meetings. Maybe it's in your relationships, where your feelings are dismissed. Or maybe it's in your family, where you're always the one who gives but never receives. You're exhausted from trying to prove yourself. You're tired of being undervalued. And deep down, you're starting to wonder, is something wrong with me? But what if I told you that one of history's greatest minds, Carl Jung, discovered a simple, psychological trick that can help you reclaim your power in just weeks? This isn't about becoming aggressive. It's not about cutting people off or playing games. It's about a profound internal shift that changes everything. Stay with me for the next hour, because what you're about to learn could transform how you show up in the world forever. Part 1. The Pain of Being Undervalued. Chapter 1. You're Not Alone. Let's start with the truth. If you're watching this video, you probably know this pain intimately. Sarah, a 34-year-old marketing manager, sent me this message last week. I work harder than anyone on my team. I stay late, I volunteer for extra projects, I always say yes. But when promotion time came, they gave it to someone else. Someone who does half the work I do. I cried in my car for an hour. I feel so stupid for believing my effort mattered. Michael wrote, "My friends only call me when they need something. A ride, help moving, money to borrow. But when I'm struggling, silence. I'm starting to realize I'm not actually their friend. I'm just useful." And then there's Jennifer. "I've been with my partner for 7 years. I cook, I clean, I manage everything while working full-time. When I asked him to do the dishes last week, he said I was nagging. I'm exhausted. I feel like a ghost in my own relationship. These stories break my heart because I know they're not unique. Millions of people are living this reality right now. But here's what's really happening beneath the surface." Chapter 2. The Psychology of Being Devalued. When you're consistently undervalued, something insidious happens to your psyche. First, you experience what psychologists call self-concept erosion. You start to internalize how others treat you. If they don't value you, maybe you're not valuable. Second, you develop what Carl Jung called a negative inflation of the ego. You become smaller than you actually are. You shrink to fit the limited space others have assigned to you. Third, and this is crucial, you enter what I call the worthiness trap. The worthiness trap. You think, if I just do more, if I'm just better, if I'm just nicer, then they'll see my value. So you give more, you work harder, you bend over backward. But here's the painful truth. You're trying to earn something that should have been freely given. Basic respect and consideration. And the more you give, the less they value it. Because in the economy of human relationships, what's freely given in abundance is rarely treasured. Chapter 3. The Cost of Staying Small. Let me be clear about what's at stake if you don't address this. Being chronically undervalued doesn't just hurt your feelings. It damages your mental health, your physical health, and your entire life trajectory. Studies show that people who feel undervalued at work are 3 times more likely to experience depression, 2 times more likely to develop anxiety disorders, 60% more likely to have cardiovascular problems. In relationships, chronic devaluation leads to loss of identity, codependency patterns, resentment that poisons everything, years or decades lost in situations that never improve. But the greatest cost? You never become who you were meant to be. You spend your entire life performing for an audience that will never applaud. You waste your precious energy on people who don't deserve it. And you die with your gifts still wrapped inside you. This is why Jung's insight is so critical, because there is a way out. Part 2. Jung's Revolutionary Insight. Chapter 4. Who was Carl Jung? Carl Gustav Jung was a Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst who lived from 1875 to 1961. He was once Sigmund, Freud's protégé, but broke away to develop his own revolutionary theories about the human psyche. Unlike Freud, who focused heavily on sexuality and past trauma, Jung was fascinated by how people could transform and individuate, become their true, authentic selves. Jung worked with thousands of patients throughout his career, and he noticed a pattern among those who felt powerless and undervalued. They all shared one critical mistake. A mistake that kept them trapped in cycles of devaluation no matter what they tried. Chapter 5. The Shadow and the Self. To understand Jung's trick, you need to understand two of his most important concepts: the shadow and the self. The shadow. The shadow is everything about yourself that you've rejected, denied, or hidden away. It's not just your dark qualities. It's anything you've been taught is unacceptable. For many people who struggle with being valued, their shadow contains healthy anger, boundaries, the word no, self-interest, ambition, the ability to disappoint others. You were taught these things were selfish or mean, so you pushed them into the shadow. You became the perpetually nice person, the helper, the one who never complains. But here's what Jung discovered. Whatever you put in the shadow doesn't disappear. It controls you from the unconscious. Your rejected anger becomes passive aggression. Your hidden boundaries become resentment. Your suppressed self-interest becomes martyrdom. The self. The self in Jung's psychology is your true whole nature. It's who you are when you integrate all parts of yourself: light and shadow, strength and vulnerability, kindness and boundaries. The self is powerful because it's authentic. It doesn't need external validation because it knows its own worth. Chapter 6. Jung's counterintuitive discovery. So here's what Jung discovered, and this is the key to everything. People don't devalue you because you're not good enough. They devalue you because you devalue yourself. Let me say that again because it's crucial. When you abandon yourself, when you ignore your needs, suppress your boundaries, and hide your truth, others unconsciously sense this and treat you accordingly. Jung wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." Why is self-acceptance terrifying? Because it requires you to reclaim your shadow, to own your power, to risk disapproval. Most people who are undervalued are terrified of being disliked, so they make themselves small, palatable, non-threatening. But here's the paradox Jung understood. The more you try to make everyone like you, the less anyone respects you. So Jung's simple trick isn't a manipulation tactic or a mind game. It's something far more profound. Part 3, The Simple Trick Revealed. Chapter 7, Withdrawing Your Energy. Jung's trick can be summarized in one powerful phrase: withdraw your energy from those who don't value it, and redirect it toward your own becoming. This isn't about revenge. It's not about punishing people. It's about a fundamental shift in where you invest your life force. Let me break this down into practical terms. Step 1. Recognize where you're giving your energy. Take inventory. Where are you? Overfunctioning? Over-explaining? Over-giving? Seeking approval? Trying to prove your worth? Write it down. Make a list. Look at it honestly. Step 2. Acknowledge the truth. Here's the hard part. Acknowledge that your over-giving hasn't worked. Despite all your effort, you're still not valued the way you deserve. This isn't about blaming yourself. It's about accepting reality so you can change it. Step 3. Make the decision. Decide that you will no longer abandon yourself to accommodate others. Decide that your energy, your time, your life force is precious. Jung called this choosing yourself. And it's the most radical act of self-respect you can perform. Chapter 8. What withdrawal actually looks like. Now here's where people get confused. They think withdrawing your energy means being cold, being rude, cutting everyone off, playing hard to get. That's not it at all. Withdrawing your energy looks like this. At work, you stop volunteering for every extra project. You stop working overtime without compensation. You stop over-explaining your ideas to people who won't listen. You document your contributions. You start applying to other jobs. You invest time in developing your skills. You're still professional, still excellent at your job, but you're no longer giving 150% to an organization that only values you at 50%. In relationships, you stop initiating all the contact. You stop being available 24/7. You stop explaining why you deserve basic consideration. You start saying no without elaborate justifications. You create space for your own interests, hobbies, growth. You stop trying to convince people to treat you well. You're still kind, still loving, but you're no longer contorting yourself to maintain relationships that don't nourish you. With family, you set clear boundaries about your time and energy. You stop taking responsibility for others' emotions. You stop attending every event out of obligation. You stop being the family therapist or mediator. You allow people to be disappointed without rescuing them. You're still respectful, still connected, but you're no longer sacrificing your well-being for people who take you for granted. Chapter 9. The Alchemy of Withdrawal. Now here's where Jung's understanding becomes almost magical. When you withdraw your energy from seeking external validation and redirect it inward, something alchemical happens. Jung studied alchemy extensively, not because he believed in turning lead to gold, but because he saw it as a metaphor for psychological transformation. When you stop pouring yourself out to others and instead contain your energy within yourself, 1. You develop presence. People sense a shift. You become more magnetic because you're no longer needy. You're not seeking anything from them, so they become curious. 2. You discover your power. All that energy you were wasting on others, you now have it for yourself, to create, to grow, to become. 3. You attract different people. When you value yourself, you attract people who value you. The ones who only liked you when you were available for exploitation, they fall away naturally. Your life transforms. Within weeks or months, your entire reality shifts. Better opportunities appear. Relationships improve or end. You feel like yourself for the first time in years. This isn't magic. It's psychology. When you change how you relate to yourself, you change how everyone relates to you. Part 4. The Practical Implementation. Chapter 10. Week-by-Week Guide. Let me give you a practical week-by-week guide to implementing Jung's approach. Week 1. Observation. Simply notice where you're overgiving. Don't change anything yet, just observe. Journal about your patterns. Notice how you feel when you're undervalued. Week 2. Small boundaries. Practice saying no to one small thing. Delay responding to texts by a few hours. Leave work on time one day. Notice the anxiety this brings up. Week 3. Redirect energy. Take the energy you would have spent on others and invest it in yourself. Read that book. Start that hobby. Go to that class. Build your inner world. Week 4. Larger boundaries. Say no to a bigger request. Don't explain or justify, just decline politely. Observe how people react. Sit with their disappointment without rescuing them. Weeks 5 to 8. Integration. Continue reducing overfunctioning. Increase self-investment. Notice what's changing in your relationships. Let go of relationships that don't adapt. Weeks 9-12. New normal. Your new boundaries become natural. You attract new, healthier connections. Old relationships either improve or end. You feel fundamentally different. Chapter 11. Handling the backlash. Now, let's talk about what Jung called the shadow reaction from others. When you start withdrawing your energy, people will react. And it won't always be pretty. The guilt tripping. You've changed. You're being selfish. What happened to you? You're not the person I knew. Here's what Jung would say. You've changed is absolutely correct. And that's the point. You're no longer the person who abandons themselves to please others. Of course you've changed. You're becoming whole. The escalation. Some people will actually pursue you harder when you pull back. Suddenly they want you when they can't have unlimited access to you. Jung warned about this. Don't confuse increased attention with increased value. Often, they just want to restore the dynamic where you give and they take. Watch their behavior, not their words. Do they actually change? Or do they just want you back in your old role? The accusations. You might be called cold, difficult, high maintenance, ungrateful. Jung would remind you, people who benefited from your lack of boundaries will always resent the establishment of them. Their discomfort is not your responsibility to fix. Chapter 12. The Individuation Journey. What you're really doing, in Jungian terms, is called individuation. Individuation is the process of becoming your whole, authentic self. It's the journey from who others want you to be to who you actually are. Jung believed this was the most important work of a human life. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung. The stages of individuation. 1. The persona stage. This is where most people live their entire lives. The persona is the mask you wear to fit in. It's the good employee, the nice person, the helpful friend. When you're undervalued, you're stuck in persona, trying to perfect the mask. 2. The shadow stage. This is when you confront what you've rejected in yourself. Your anger, your boundaries, your needs, your power. This is uncomfortable. You'll feel guilty. You'll feel selfish. This is normal. 3. The integration stage. This is when you bring together all parts of yourself. You're kind and boundaried, generous and self-respecting, loving and self-prioritizing. You become whole. 4. The self stage. This is when you've individuated. You know who you are. You're comfortable in your own skin. You don't need external validation because you have internal worth. This is where you reclaim your power. Part 5. Real Stories of Transformation. Chapter 13. Sarah's Story. Remember Sarah, the marketing manager who was passed over for promotion? Here's what happened when she applied Jung's approach. Month 1, Sarah stopped staying late. She stopped volunteering for extra projects. She did her job excellently, but nothing more. Her manager noticed immediately. "Is everything okay? You seem different." Sarah simply said, "Everything's fine. I'm just being more mindful of my time." Month 2, Sarah updated her resume. She started interviewing at other companies. She invested her newfound time in a professional certification. Her coworkers were confused. Where was the Sarah who always said yes? Month 3, Sarah received 2 job offers, both with significant raises. She accepted one. When she gave notice, her current manager was shocked. They offered her the promotion she'd been denied, with even more money. Sarah declined. She told me later, "I realized they only valued me when I was leaving." That's not real value. That's desperation. I chose a company that valued me from the start. Today, Sarah is thriving. She's respected at her new job. She has work-life balance. And she says she finally feels like herself. Chapter 14. Michael's Story. Michael, the man whose friends only called when they needed something, he implemented Jung's withdrawal radically. He stopped initiating contact. He stopped being available for every request. When friends asked for favors, he started saying, "I can't this time." The first month was lonely. Most of his friends disappeared. He grieved this. Jung says we must mourn the relationships that weren't real. But then something interesting happened. One friend, just one, reached out, not to ask for something, but to check on Michael, to see if he was okay. This friend said, "Hey man, I've noticed you've been distant. Did I do something wrong? I miss hanging out with you." Michael was honest. He explained how he'd been feeling used. That friend apologized. They talked, really talked, and their friendship became real. Today, Michael has a smaller circle, but it's genuine. He told me, "I'd rather have 2 real friends than 20 users." Chapter 15, Jennifer's Story. Jennifer, in the 7-year relationship where she did everything, she stopped overfunctioning. She stopped doing his laundry. She stopped cooking every meal. She stopped managing his life. Her partner was baffled. "What's gotten into you?" Jennifer said, "I'm tired of being your mother and your maid. I want to be your partner." He said she was being ridiculous, that she was creating problems where none existed. Jung would call this shadow projection. He couldn't see his own laziness. He refused. So Jennifer made the hardest decision of her life. After 7 years, she left. She told me through tears, "I thought I couldn't live without him." But what I really couldn't live with was losing myself. 6 months later, Jennifer is dating someone new, someone who does his share, someone who values her without being forced to. She says, "I didn't know relationships could be this easy. I didn't know I could be valued just for existing, not for what I do. So here we are, almost an hour together. If you've stayed with me this long, I believe you're ready for change. You're ready to reclaim your power." Let me leave you with Jung's final wisdom on this. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. When you understand why you've allowed yourself to be devalued, when you face that shadow honestly, you can finally change it. Your action plan. Starting today, acknowledge the truth. You've been undervalued, and you've allowed it. Make the decision. You will no longer abandon yourself. Start small. One boundary. One no. One act of self-prioritization. Redirect your energy. Stop giving it away. Invest it in yourself. Sit with discomfort. Guilt will come. Let it pass through you. Watch what changes. Give it 30 days. Notice everything. Trust the process. Individuation takes time. Chapter 17. Final words. You are not broken. You are not too much or not enough. You are not unworthy of love, respect, and consideration. You've simply been playing by rules that were designed to keep you small. Jung spent his life studying how people transform, and he discovered that real change happens when you stop seeking worth outside yourself and start cultivating it within. You don't need to prove your value. You need to know your value. And when you know it, really know it in your bones, everyone else will sense it too. The right people will rise to meet you at your new level. The wrong people will fall away, and you'll finally understand what it feels like to be valued, first by yourself and then by others. This is Jung's gift to you. This is the simple trick that changes everything. Not manipulation, not games, not strategies, just the profound, radical act of choosing yourself. Thank you for spending this hour with me. If this resonated with you, leave a comment below sharing which part hit home. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. And if you're ready to start this journey, write in the comments, I choose myself. Let's build a community of people who value themselves first, so the world can value them properly. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, remember, your power was never lost. It was only loaned to people who didn't deserve it.